Great. So welcome everyone. And to those of you who are listening, welcome to the KIMIYA Healing Podcast or YouTube channel, where we are having our first session of Words from the Womb. So you guys have experienced womb room. Some of you have experienced womb room multiple times. Some of you are onto your 8th rebirth or 9th rebirth in womb room. And I thought this would be a great opportunity for you to come together and share a little bit about what womb has been like for you. And you all come from different backgrounds, different places in the world. So you're going to use this session to just really share from your heart. And the first question I'm going to ask is, how did you hear about womb room?
Well, we heard about womb room from Jasmine, who told her father and mother, and then they told us. And after just a brief conversation with you, Stephen Lockhart said, "Oh, you have to meet Safa." So we got involved with some of your 1-hour programs, and then enjoyed it so much and felt it was impactful. So we then applied for the womb room or registered for the womb room, and away we went.
Amazing. I'm glad that you did. So what did Jasmine, what did you say? How did you describe womb room?
So I shared it with quite a few people when I first heard about it. And it was interesting to see the response because I told my parents and they were quite skeptical actually, and they didn't really think much of it. And I knew, like, I felt it in my body when I came across it, when I came across your page, when I heard you on a podcast, like I instantly felt it. And I was like, I need to do this. Well, I shouldn't say when I first heard about it, when I was listening to a podcast, I was like, whoa. But then it came up in my life again 3 months later. And yeah, my parents didn't really think much of it at first. And I told a friend too, and he was like, what? Whoa, what?
Yeah, it's a bit crazy sounding, isn't it?
Yeah, but then eventually I went back to visit my parents and told them about it. I was like, you should do it. And I kept sharing the video. I had the video of womb room playing constantly in the background, when I was in the kitchen. I was like, womb room, you should do womb room. And then my mom signed up and then my dad. So yeah.
Wow. And it was actually the first womb when we had an entire family here together in the womb. And many of you have joined and you've journeyed with your loved ones. And this is the first time where we had parents and a child together. So it's been wonderful. Thank you so much for listening to your body. What about the rest of you? How did you hear about womb?
I guess mine is kind of similar in the way that it I felt it in my body, because I'm all the way in South Africa and there was no way I could have found out about it. I just took a nap one day and I woke up and I was scrolling through Instagram and then I saw your post and I was like, whoa, this resonates. Yeah, and then I sent you an email and it kind of just aligned from there and I was like, poof. Yeah, I think I was reading this book called Womb Awakening and I saw your post and I was like, why don't I give it a try, And things just fell into place from there.
That is one of my favorite books. It's like a beautiful, beautiful book, isn't it? I'm so glad you're reading that.
100%.
So you felt it in your body as well, and you found out about it through Instagram, and it was obviously resonating with the work that you were already doing and inquiring into womb world. Is that a similar theme for the rest of you guys? Is there some type of somatic response that's happening as you're hearing the words womb, or you're getting in connection with womb room, or what called you here? How did you hear about womb room?
For me, it was back in April 2020, the first ever one that you've done. And I read your post saying that there's this womb meditation that I've been doing and I would like people to join me for the next 10 days. And to be honest, it's something that I've never thought about connecting to my womb, because as someone with a self-healing, I connect with my body all over, but never ever considered connecting to womb, and even the womb talking back to me as well. That's the thing. It was really amazing. So I thought Initially, it was more curiosity that got me there. But that curiosity kind of evolved over the 8 womb that I've done, womb rooms. It kind of evolved into seeking like alchemy, you know, from curiosity to alchemy. There's big difference between my first and the last one. Yeah, I keep on coming back and back.
Wow, this has been you've done every single womb room since we began, since that first call.
I've done 8 of them.
Oh, you've done 8 of them.
9 womb rooms. And the reason why I haven't done the one of them is because I had one-on-one sessions with you. So otherwise I would have done all 9 of them.
I'll distract you from the womb. Don't ever let me distract you from the womb.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the womb is more important than this. Yeah. Okay, lovely. That's amazing. We're going to come back to the journey from curiosity into alchemy and the journey through womb, different levels of womb consciousness. We can talk about that, certainly. I think some of you are touching on different levels, starting to realize what womb can give you, what womb actually is. So what about the rest of you? When you heard, my question now is, when you heard about womb, was it something that was an immediate yes? Was it something that was I'm curious about this? Did you get dragged in by your partner? Did you get convinced? Were you like, oh, okay, this really fits into what I'm already exploring within my somatic practice? Natalie, you're nodding.
Yeah, I was calling for some assistance with my womb because this year I've been feeling all kinds of sensations and things going on, and with the recent things going on in the world, and I've been feeling extremely sensitive and just all kinds of stuff, and then I saw your womb room after doing a couple of your group healings, your Into the Blue and another one, maybe the spine one, not sure. And yeah, I just was so grateful to just jump in.
Wow, I love the fact that what's been going on in the world mirrored then in your body. Our bodies are receptive mirrors and vehicles for this collective experience, and you were tuned in and listening to that, recognizing that there's something deeper here for you to experience, and that maybe you can get some support to journey through that.
Yeah.
Wow, powerful.
Yeah, it's been really supportive.
I'm so glad to hear that. Amazing. I actually want to ask, I'm really curious, because the more womb rooms we have, we do start to get more and more families and couples and divine masculine coming into womb, which I find is amazing, because when I first started womb room, my intention was always that womb is gender agnostic. Womb is the void, and womb in most modalities is associated with the feminine embodiment, and we forget about the masculine embodiment and the union that we're all striving for, right? So what we have experienced throughout these womb rooms is that the men are coming to womb. And I find that incredible. And here we have on just this call, a couple of you guys who are joining us. So I'd really love to hear from you. When you first hear about womb and you're coming into this space to heal as a man and in your divine masculine, how was the experience of womb for you? Did you feel like it met you in who you are?
Well, okay, as a male, I first heard about it through, well, my wife was listening to your podcasts, and I was just thinking, well, what is this? And she's like, it's womb room, and I'm like, okay, well, it's just this other. All right, it's another new age thing, I've been through a few of those new age gurus and whatever, and finally it's something sounding catchy about it. So I listened to a podcast. I'm like, wow, this presenter, she really knows what she's talking about. She's got some really deep stuff, and took a look at all the different podcasts on Spotify, and there's just so much content, and I saw that was really useful, and so I decided to give it a go, and it really just connected me and my wife as well. So because I was kind of on her page now, because I could see what she was was doing and listening to and trying these meditations, and it gave us something to share and talking about. So
yes,
yeah, it was a good experience. Yeah.
love it. Something that you connect in and connect through that's deeper than the ordinary kind of mundane buzzing day to day. So it's given you a deeper connection with yourself and with your wife, who I wish she was here right now as well. So send her my love. And for you, it felt very natural to be in womb as a man as well.
Yeah, once I had a good explanation of it, I do admit it kind of grew on me. In the beginning, I'm just like, yeah, womb room, what is this? It's all women. Is this just a women thing? But then listening to the podcast and the meditation of you explaining what it is a place where you just kind of lift up above all the chaos that you're in, and in society it's just a comfortable place back into the womb. That this the way I look at it is that place where you were first transported into this into matter, you know. Absolutely
right. It's amazing that you describe it as comfortable. What a journey we've had. I'm not sure many others would describe it as comfortable, but absolutely there is a safety in this space and in the womb room that is quite unparalleled. Wow. So some of you have heard about womb through social media, some of you through working with me, some through the group sessions, and through each other, which is amazing. Okay. Some of you here.
From my point of view, as being a male, the first one I did with you was spinal surgery, and I could feel the energy running up and down my spine, and thought, you know, when it came to womb room, I'm used to, I guess, from a marketing perspective, looking past the title and reading deeper what it is. And you know, when it spoke of the rebirthing, I didn't see that as being male or female. I saw it as being just sort of something for everyone. And so that's when I decided to join. So I thought I'd just chime in, being one of two males.
Absolutely. I'm so glad that you did, because that's what it is, rebirthing. When we rebirth, and you guys know this now so well, because you've done this now intensively for 10 days or more, some of you for many days. The divine deconstruction includes gender identity and everything else, because we are going into the void, the dissolution of form, of ego, of identity, and so much of our identity is pinned to our gender, sexuality, our body, our life experiences. So yeah, absolutely. Rebirth means we throw it all away. We recreate ourselves and we see what we come back as. And that doesn't really have a limit. There's no limits. So, okay. For those of you that have come to womb a few times now, my question to you is, why do you keep coming back to womb? Apart from because I call you in. Well, is there something that's drawing you back to womb to have this experience, like a rebirth again? What would you say? I'm looking at you, Hattie. I'm looking at you.
Okay, sure. I've been rebirthed 3 times now in womb, and it's even really hard for me to think back to the first womb, because there's been so much that's changed since the first womb. But when I realize what this womb room program of 10 days makes me do, which it makes me like craft time for myself and make myself look at myself in a much deeper sense, and in this time and space that, you know, you create in such an incredible way that holds this whole container of everybody and all these resources and wisdom that we can access. And then we're allowed to feel this incredible vibrational feeling that you're sending to us, in this incredible, I don't know, sense of love. And I feel like it's like this library of love, and there's all these different vibrational feelings of love that come with these healing sessions. And I don't know, I just started to really crave these healing sessions. They were amazing. I could really feel them and sense them. And even sometimes when you were doing them offline, but I wasn't even tuning in at those times, I would still feel these frequencies or these vibrations in my body, even if I was working or doing the dishes or something. It was incredible. So I don't know, I really felt like that was a way that I could start to sense and feel into my body a lot more, and into more of a connection, into a connection when we're in the meditation states, and with parts of my body that I hadn't connected with so long. So I just started to really like, when we would drop out of the womb room and have integration periods between, I really enjoyed those as well, because they were also teaching me a lot about what I wasn't doing for myself. So I guess it was kind of a way to like keep returning to myself in a deeper sense, and being part of the shared experience of everybody else, which was incredible, because we have these mirror reflections, and we have these supportive experiences that people are coming up with that potentially, I've met in a sense as well. So yeah, it just was just something that I couldn't think of as not being part of my life anymore.
So, so it sounds like it got itself woven into your daily life, because you'd experienced multiple wombs, and you could see the contrast of how you were experiencing life in the womb and how much attention you were giving yourself and your body and your healing journey. And then when the womb would close, you could see how, the day-to-day life can sometimes take over.
Mm-hmm.
So then you crave again that depth of connection, that depth of healing, connection with yourself. And yeah, that's really interesting. So Seta, you've come into the room now, as we've already said, 8 times. Are you experiencing something different every room? Are you going deeper every room? Tell us a little bit about why you keep coming back.
And so it's quite similar to what Hattie was saying. So there's every time I just go deeper and deeper into myself. It's like, if I look at myself the first time and now, there's huge difference. Even though I am the same person, but at the same time, I'm not. I don't know if it makes sense, because the amount of the depth that I've gone into my subconscious, and my relationships have healed as a result. And my relationship with my children, it's much deeper, and it's got so much understanding between us. And I know with my parents and children, there's arguments sometimes, isn't it? Or disagreements. Arguments is a big thing. So there isn't that now. So there's more conversations where when I say something, he understands. So there's big changes every time. So I just love it. I see results. That's why I come back.
Right. I love that. Absolutely. Yeah. And I always say to people, the proof is in the pudding. You can listen to me talk all day long, but until you experience it for yourself, taste the pudding, get the result. And if you get the result, that's when you know. And you judge an experience based on what you have personally got out of it. Okay, that's really, really powerful, what you've just shared there. I have seen you grow so much through the whole process, the whole journey, going deeper every time. And I'm curious about, do you guys make that association with constantly re-embracing womb, going deeper every time with your soul journey of inception, constantly coming through inception back into earth each and every cycle, and going deeper and deeper every time? Have you made that connection? Yeah, it's very deep, because I hope that these journeys equip you with more. And then you realize that actually this, even when the world, like Natalie, you talked about, it's been a difficult time to just even be in the world and be in our bodies, especially over the last couple of years. And when we feel more resourced, we recognize we can keep coming back. We can keep spiraling through and coming back into earth and bringing it all back. So many people don't want to come back to earth in that sense. We don't want to, hopefully this is my last time here, because it's a tough place to be, right? Planet Earth. But if you can come into womb and experience divine deconstruction, you can definitely come back to planet Earth and shine your light again. So that's great. That's great. Okay, I want to ask you guys, and especially for those of you who haven't spoken yet, so I'm looking at you, Santa, Bryony, Lindsay. What do you feel that womb room helped you to heal? I'm kind of putting you on the spot a little bit. Or when I say heal, I mean recognize, realize, understand. How did your body change, your emotional inner world, connections, relationships, anything you want to draw on?
Yeah. Well, first of all, how I heard about the womb room. This time it was my first time to participate in the womb room. I was actually very skeptical, not only about this womb room, but about you as Safa. So I had no clue who you are and what kind of work do you do. And I come from a background of being a counseling psychologist. So none of the professors or teachers at the university ever spoke about the stuff that you're speaking. And so when, Steve just mentioned that, oh, you should check out this healer. Her name is Safa. She's great and she's so powerful one, and check her homepage out. So I checked the homepage. And even though my rational mind was very skeptical, there was just this hunch or just this feeling that, oh yes, like there is something to it. And I still didn't know about the womb room, but I participated in the spine surgery and in the Sacred Heart in these group healings. And that's where I heard you speak about, oh, there's going to be a womb room in September. And I thought, what the hell is that girl talking about? What is this? Because I was very confused, and I thought, like, wow, is she a body worker? Like, what's there with the womb? Is she a gynecologist, or like, what's her story? Like, what is there with that womb thing? Like, you know, I've studied the subject at the university, so no one has ever spoken about this womb room. And then I started listening, despite the fact that my mind was very critical. I started listening to your podcasts, and it just spoke to me. And as my reason, my personal reason for doing those group healings and being a part of those group healings is my own PTSD, so post-traumatic stress disorder that I suffer from. And I tried so many healing methods that the science of psychology offers these days. So I did everything there is, you know, like talk therapy and EMDR and hypnosis and craniosacral work and meditations and so many things that I did. And I was just very aware that, no, this energy healing is something that's definitely going to be for me. And I was very fearful of communicating with people, but just when I checked your homepage and when I listened to your voice, so there was no fear from that part, which for me was very, very crucial. And so what I can say about my experience in the womb room, first of all, I know that I will come back exactly and we'll do this womb room again, exactly for the reasons that you just mentioned, that it is the place where for the first time, I recognized that, oh my God, I'm so disembodied. I have been disembodied my whole life. And I didn't even know that. I wasn't even aware. Like, oh my God, what does it even mean to connect with the womb, to feel into my inner organs and to sense them and like to feel my body. So it just dawned on me. It was a huge aha moment that I believed my whole life that, oh yes, I have this body and I can move my body. I jog, I wake up, I get up, I walk. And at the same time, I'm so dissociated from it. And what I gained from this womb room was, first of all, as a person suffering from PTSD, it was very, very hard for me the first days, the first 3 or 4 days, to open up to this group setting, to this group thing, and to read the comments and to see all those people and the names in different countries. And I was not consciously, but there was a lot of fear inside of me. But then something just clicked. And from the 4th and 5th day, especially this group setting with so many people from different countries and different stories, all creating this safe space where I recognized that, oh my God, on the 4th and 5th day, I was, you know, commenting and sharing my experience as if we had known each other for, I don't know, 5 decades of this life. And reading stories of other people and their experiences, it just made me feel so one and so connected. And that the problems that people shared, it made me feel really that, oh my God, we're actually all same. Like, we have different bodies, we have different ages, we have different life stories and trauma, and yet it's so familiar, it's so the same, it feels so home. And oh, the womb room for me personally was a hell of a journey, because I got aware about how much work I need to do. That's why I'm saying right now that I will definitely join once again. And I'm also doing one-to-one work with you. So it has been a transformational experience for me. And I'm very grateful that I follow my hunch, and despite mine being critical, join this sacred space. So thank you.
Oh, I love it. I love that. You know, I think we've all started off at some point in our life as skeptical and critical, and maybe we always will have that aspect to ourselves until we've experienced what we need to. So I think it's wonderful to come in with a cautious skepticism, you know, and embrace the group space like this very, very carefully. And thank you for allowing yourself to have such a powerful journey. It's even with, you know, everything that you were facing. Bryony, how was it for you? What do you feel like the womb experience gave you? What kind of journey did you go on?
Big, a big journey. Yeah, totally didn't know what to expect at all coming on. I just knew, I mean, I recognized a little bit of what Santa was saying with the slight sort of hesitancy or checking, but there's obviously something in my body that knew this was the way to go. And I was really, really enthused when you shared an image somewhere which connected in the sort of the physical aspect of the room, the emotional aspect of the room, the spiritual, and then the cosmic. And I realized I have been looking for something that would help me come into this space that I knew was so powerful, but just it's so rarely talked about, and in a way that I wanted to go that deep. And when I read that, I realized I haven't found anywhere else that I could take all of that in one space. And you, my goodness, I'm telling lots of people about it and how amazing it's been, and the space that you hold. And so in terms of what I feel like it's done for me, and it's still unfolding, just meeting and getting in contact with my pelvic floor, just realizing, oh my God, if I get anxious or tense, that tells me. And so it's a really, really helpful barometer for me that I'm continuing to use. And so just feeling more into the sensations in that area, and that just like I sort of replay some of the words that you guided us with about just feeling into the sensation, not being fearful of them. I can't remember exactly your words now, but it was just something that guides you to feel right into that more and more. What's behind that? So that's been really powerful. So I sit here just now with like feeling just that really wide space there that I'm getting to know a bit more. Something's happened to my right side. I had my first in-person cranio today, and it was like, oh my goodness, my right side, I have a very different relationship with it now. It's got similar sensations, but it's different. It's like it's grown up. And I had this sense in the session, there was one point, I think you referred to it earlier on, where I just thought it was beyond gender in a way that I haven't experienced. And that was the other big thing that came through for me in this womb room, which is my first, but won't be my last, I don't think, is the masculine, the divine masculine, coming to have a significantly different understanding of that and how that interweaves with the feminine. And that's just helped heal quite a lot of things, I think, that I've been in, situations I've been in, and in a current relationship and stuff. This subtle things, a bit like Seta was referring to with children. Hard to exactly pinpoint, but there's just something that just feels, yeah, I find hard to find the words. Something shifted on that level. And the other aspect that really I came to understand, deeper and deeper, it cognitively, but deeper and deeper that whole importance of embracing aspects of ourselves to feel more here, and just really, really getting that wow. I mean, it's so obvious, but to really, really, really get it. And so it's, yeah, it just feels, all the sort of testimonials you had about, oh, this is life changing, and this is I was thinking, oh yeah, and it's like, bloody hell, you know, it is. So I'm looking forward to doing more. I really, because I like the depth. It's just what you're saying, that connecting with people in that depth and the space that everybody creates. And I imagine the fact that so many people have come before, you know, they help create an even deeper space as well. So yeah, wonderful.
That's amazing. It sounds, sometimes the things that we shift at the deepest levels are indescribable. We don't really have, it's not as straightforward as saying, okay, yeah, my pelvis rebalanced and then I healed my relationship with my partner. It's much deeper sensations that we're working with in our experience. And sometimes they, as you said, like, it's still sinking in for you. And this integration, I think for all of us, it's still landing and it being processed, because it was such a huge wound, this last one. Actually, all of you were in this last womb. There isn't anyone here that was in the ones, but only in the one before, which is amazing. So that's testament, because I invited everyone who's been in all of the wombs, but it's you guys who stepped forward, the ones in the September womb. So that's pretty profound. And you're a therapist yourself, so obviously you were looking for something that was going to hold you in a certain depth, and a depth that allowed you to go deeper, so you could go deeper for your clients. And yeah, we did do a lot of work with the divine masculine. Again, testament that this is not womb is not just for women, contrary to what is being shared out there. I want to ask you guys about your, some of you have mentioned mirrors and coming into the group and seeing people's stories and connecting, and then realizing that actually this person's not much different from me. I'm not much different from these people. And sometimes the things that I held as the worst things I've ever done in my life, or things I've really blamed myself for, or aspects of myself I found really unable to be with, I actually can see it now, that it's almost a universal human experience. So does anyone want to share a little bit about what the role of other people played? What did your roommates play? What role did they play in your journey? Like, was there one person you connected with in particular, or what was the experience of seeing and processing with other people?
Yeah, I think for me, even as Santa and Fanny were talking, it kind of just resonated with everything that I felt was in my heart, and I just felt myself like nodding, like yes, like that's me, like I could see myself in it now even. So, and like I think one of my core woundings is like feeling a sense of belonging in the world. So like I've done a lot of individual work, but processing with other people, it kind of just helped me feel a sense of belonging, and like I do belong in this world, on this earth. So yeah, it was pretty like amazing. And I think for me specifically, when it comes to like deep anger that was like dissociated from my body, and then I spoke about it and I was like, no, this is way too crazy to share. Like obviously someone's gonna think I'm like, you know, I'm off the rocker or something. But having someone else say, yeah, me too, like it reminded me that I was loved and that I belonged. And that was, yeah, it was magical.
Well, I'm getting emotional just hearing about it. I can really resonate with that, because I feel like even on this call right now, the depth of presence that you guys are showing each other, it's like me too. You can feel your body saying, me too. I went through that too. I went through that too. So please, what else?
Yeah, me too. When you were saying about the wound of belonging, and other people just speak out what was maybe a bit hidden but on its way out, and someone would go ahead of me and express something where you know, it needs that nudge and encouragement of, you know, this is a deep space, and those things can emerge and have that space. So yeah, I knew that I was entering into a space where these depths would just be able to be held from your content, Safa, and like the way that you presented it, and like Briley was saying, the cosmic womb and the different layers. I was like, okay, yeah, I can come here and I can open here.
Wow, that's incredible, because we often, it's kind of scary in a way to open up. So, and you guys did such deep work in that last womb. But it is kind of scary to think that you're going to open up to a group of global strangers. But you trusted the process. Something in your body trusted it. Did any of you feel like this is mad, and actually I feel like I really can't open up here as fully as I want to? Did you ever get that feeling? And if you did, then how did you continue in the space? Todd, can you unmute?
Yeah, I had that feeling. It took me till halfway through the session. I was like, I just can't really open up. I don't really want to open up like this. But then I just sit there and I'd watch other people and realize, okay, well, I mean, we're all the same here. We're all going through the same stuff as people discussing some of the things I actually wanted to say, you know, the very same thing. And so it kind of made you feel, well, you know, it's okay. And you know, if you don't want to say something, that's fine. You're gonna take in so much from all these other people from all over the planet, you know, discussing these things, these deep things. And yeah, then you might feel, oh, this isn't doing much. And then all of a sudden one day you go try a meditation or something, and it just, you feel great. All of a sudden I just felt amazing. It just wore off on me. I didn't even realize it. So that was my experience.
Wow, that's really, really powerful. So you could feel like, similar to what you were saying, Seta, you know, and Hattie as well, like you can feel the experience. It sounds like even when you're maybe not even fully dropped in the space yet, or you've got your reservations, then when you do take that time for yourself, you can feel that something shifted, something's changed. So that physical, emotional, and energetic changes that you guys are experiencing. Did anyone here have any really big physical shift in the body?
I experience right now, for the first time in my life, actually, a huge shift in the way how I feel inside my body. So the first days of the womb for me were kind of challenging also because of the realization that, oh my God, everyone's like sharing their physical sensations in their body. And they're so, to my mind, it felt like, oh, wow, they have done such a huge work and they're so successful in their healing. And oh, nothing's happening in my body and I'm not feeling my body. I don't have those sensations that people are reporting about. And again, like those loops of thoughts come up like, oh yes, sure, you're effed up, and sure, and there's something wrong with you. And yes, look, everyone's reporting about these great changes and you see nothing's happening for you. So I was kind of lost in this spiral of fears and just negativity that, oh God, I'm so traumatized that I don't sense anything. And now the shift that I'm reporting is just, it's been like, just, I don't even know how many days it's been since the womb room has closed. I mean, it's not even a month. And it's just insane what's happening with my body. I mean, if I had known that it can change so dramatically, I would have laughed about those thoughts that I had. Like, I remember those thoughts right now. I think like, oh my God, that was so silly of me, for me to think like that. Because right now I'm literally sensing the energy moving in my body. I sense my inner organs. I actually wake up in the night because there's a specific organ and the womb area literally pulsating. There's the vibration. I don't know what it is, but there's like this movement inside my body. And just to share very, very happy news that today was because I meditate, like I do your meditations, and till now I kind of did them, with a, how do you say in English, clenched teeth, like, okay, stuff I told them to do, so it's like on to-do list, okay, body, let's do this. And today was the first time when I literally felt my first energy center moving and pulsating. And to me, it was just, it was the birthday. So now I know what the people spoke about, when I joined the womb. So it is a great shift, and things are happening. Yeah.
And I think that's one thing you don't really get from one-to-one therapy. The realization that other people are experiencing what you're going to experience in a week or what you experienced last week, right? It's that context. Like, how do we fit into the context? I mean, Zian was talking about like belonging in the world. How do we know whether we belong in the world if we don't journey with each other and explore each other's worlds? I want to bring you in, Lindsay, because we've not heard from you yet. I really want to hear, like, how was the womb for you, meeting all these people and journeying in womb for the first time?
So I started on kind of more of an inward journey, probably in last February, and for me it's been an amazing journey of I've allowed myself to be led, and when I landed in the womb room, I just knew I was supposed to be there. And curiosity is a hugely powerful thing, to be curious about what is going on inside your body. And the supported stillness, the aspect of stillness and the wisdom that arises through stillness is quite something. My journey entailed healing parts of my divine feminine, and I had actually an intergenerational experience, and it was hugely powerful because I knew a lot about my story by the time I arrived in womb, but I had the most incredible intergenerational experience. It was a felt experience. It was so supportive and beautiful and loving. And I guess really in leaving womb and in the time since, there's just been a whole other dimension to my lived experience. I feel like I have stepped into my power differently, that I have followed through with more aspects of my lived experience that I wanted to embrace creatively. I have felt safer and more trusting within myself. And yeah, all from safety, curiosity, and stillness, and those three things I think are the way forward for me.
Wow, that's so deep. I could feel, as you're talking, I could feel it in my body. I think you've got some tears. Zian is really feeling it too. That's profound. Zian, tell us about the tears.
Yeah, as she was talking, I just kept thinking about how when I started womb, my pelvic area was like completely numb. And then like afterwards, or on the last day, I could feel like a pulsating in there. And ever since then, I've been able to like feel my womb, and like my life's been completely different. And there's almost like this innocence. I haven't really like processed it yet, but yeah, there's like an innocence in me that I'm protecting, and I'm also stepping into my power.
Wow, so it's an innocence that you've reclaimed, as we do when we embrace our womb again, and also the embodiment of your power. And we hold both, just like we hold the divine feminine, the divine masculine. We hold the present, we hold the ancestral, we hold the individual and the collective. And it can feel like, wow, this is a lot to hold. Who am I? Who do I be? And you're all of it. We are all of it. Gosh. So we've had physical healing, emotional healing, relational with regards to your family, your relatives, your masculine, feminine side, energetic shifts happening that are kind of hard to put into words even. Ancestral healing, collective healing, a sense of re-belonging and togetherness, and the fact that we're kind of all here processing the same stuff in a way. We have the same feeling, and at the deep down emotional level, we feel the same way about things. Seta, I want to bring you in.
Yes. Right. Well, for me, starting from my first experience, so it was more on a personal level, based on my personal history, my relationships, and also me growing up in war zone. So that's what it started up with in the initial stages. Then it kind of evolved to ancestral, where my ancestors' survival of massacre. So all this I've been holding inside me, and to the recent ones where it was more my maternal lineage came forward, where our voice was suppressed and our gifts were suppressed. So it's more to do with feeling unworthy of receiving the gifts and the voice. So it's that's what my journey's been like. And with the last one, the level of the depth that I felt, it was really amazing, feeling the depth of the ocean and seeing the whales as well. It was really my first experience with whales, and it really, the depth of my grounding is totally different, considering all this journey that I've done. And it doesn't mean that I'm constantly in that depth. At the moment, I'm just finding myself. There's still integration happening, even though the integration was last Sunday, but there's still, and more things are coming up. And it is really amazing. It's like it hasn't given me a break.
It's like the medicine that keeps working, right?
Yeah, it's still coming up, and it still needs integration. So yeah, it's a good journey. I'm really happy.
Wow, you have a big smile on your face, considering all of this medicine is coming through your body. We often don't like the taste of medicine, but you're still smiling, which is...
Yeah, we're best friends now.
Best friends. So you guys got really close to your shadow Sheilas during the womb room, as we call them. For those of you that are listening, the Sheilas are what we call our endearing term for the shadow, and our sub-personalities, and maybe the sub-personalities that we try to ignore or project or pretend they don't have the hold over us that actually they do, and we call them Sheilas. Sorry to anyone who's actually called Sheila that's listening to this. It's not personal. So during the womb room journey, you guys got very close to, we had a tea party, and you got very close to your Sheilas and those aspects of yourself. And I remember the call vividly. We had that session where we talked about what is getting in the way of, what is getting in your way. Do you remember that session? And what you guys would, you'd say one line, and we went around the whole group, and the things that you were saying and how profound that was, what is blocking you from being and what it does to you. And the things that were coming up were the same themes. That's what I was struck by, the same themes over and over again of my shadows, my Sheilas are stopping me from being my authentic self, speaking my truth, being comfortable in my own body, being acceptable, feeling acceptable and accepting others, loving and being loved, being in my power. It was the same themes over and over again. It's being said in different ways. And through that experience of doing shadow work, not just individually, but also in a group space, did you start to feel like maybe you had a different relationship with your Sheilas? You guys are thinking like, let me just bring them all back into the room. Where are they?
They're still there, but I just know I'm so much more aware of them. I guess I could say that. That was a big part for me. It was the shadow thing, the shadow section of the course that we went through. meditations and information, and yeah, they all went away, but they do creep back. But that what I got out of this is that I can see them. I know they're around, and it takes work. So
absolutely, we build relationships. So we're not here to exterminate our own source of wisdom, which is really the darkness, the source of our light, the source of our self-illumination. How do we know we've self-illuminated? Until we know where we are in the darkness. So yeah, we're not here to extinguish the source of our illumination. We're here to build bridges inwards. And you guys certainly did that. You know, all the things you're talking about right now, the answer from getting more in touch with your physical body and sensations, to talking openly in a group and sharing your process, to ancestral healing, etc. It's all falls into this area of shadow work. Did anything surprise you about, especially for you guys who did not done this for the first time, did anything really surprise you about the womb room journey?
I was surprised by the depth of sensations I experienced when I came to the session after it had occurred, you know, on my own timing one day. And I laid down and I put some music in my ears, and I just was having this very deep, visceral journey. And I was really surprised by that.
So just to clarify for anyone who's listening, Natalie, you couldn't attend the session on the time that we had allocated. So you actually did the session afterwards. You experienced the healing session. I think it was just 1 hour later, wasn't it? And and you're saying that you could still feel the whole visceral experience happening, even though you did it at 1 hour later from the rest of the group.
Yeah, and I knew that, I mean, I was quite stressed out in general at that time, but I had an intention, okay, I just really need this healing. But I had all these doubts, you know, coming up, like, this isn't going to work now, you're too tired, it's happened. But I was like, okay, well, I'll just give it a shot, and I'll light candles and get all cocooned up and put the headphones in, and had a really incredible journey.
Wow, so you were surprised that it works, even though it's offline. Now you know, guys. Now you know. We had someone who went into Costa Coffee, because they were like, oh yeah, I'm not going to feel it in Costa Coffee. And like, they had a huge crown opening when they were having their cappuccino. It was not in this womb, in another womb. And I always remember that story, because I think it's amazing that, you know, we exist here in this quantum field that doesn't need to obey laws of time or space. And yet we are so polite.
Yeah.
So I love that. What else? What surprised you?
I personally was not only was I surprised, I was shocked about that I was able to start singing at the last day of the womb room, because due to my trauma and the fear that was stuck in my body and muscles, I could never really sing, even though I do have a singing voice. And I always wanted to be a singer in my life, and I wouldn't sing even if I knew that the cat was at home. For example, I would sometimes sing if I was alone, taking a shower. So I would notice that, oh God, what was I doing? Oh, I was singing a song. But that was only when I was completely alone and I wasn't even aware of doing this. I just caught myself, oh wow, I just sang. And so during this womb room, especially when I got more safe inside of me, and there was this huge group safety and unconditional support and this loving environment, that at the end of the womb room, as we had our last session, this integration call, I really, really had this urge that, oh my God, I want to give it a shot. I want to try and test if I will be able to sing. And to me, to do that in front of so many people, and I was worried. I thought, okay, I will screw it up. It's not going to work. So all these, these Sheilas singing in a choir, inside my own head, and that I did it. I still can't believe it. So that was a shock for me. That's a big thing. That's a huge thing for me, to be able to overcome this bodily trauma and give my inner self a voice in front of so many people, in front of camera. I mean, to me, it was like, I still can't believe it. So that was my shock. Yeah.
I remember crying so much hearing you sing, because I know I was on that journey myself of really not being able to sing and not hating the sound of my own voice. And I know how much courage it takes to do that, to express yourself in front of a group, especially with the voice and with the singing. So yeah, it sounds like you've been surprised by what you've been able to do yourself, what you've been able to heal, what you've been able to move through, the fact that you were able to feel your bodies and you were able to feel the healing sessions taking place, even if you were not physically present. So I want to ask you a little bit about what your experiences were of these healing sessions. So in Womb Room, we have 4 healing sessions, and we do 2 of them live, don't we? We do the grounding live and we do the rebirth live, and we do the other 2 offline, which for some people is really bizarre, because the notion that you could experience healing without having anyone in the same room or continent as you and a group of people is often considered quite far-fetched or impossible. And I want to hear about your experiences of, or just to recap our memories. First, we had the grounding and the opening, and then we had the release session. That's always my favorite, because that's a ride. That's a real cosmic washing machine. Then we had the recreate, where we started to plant the seeds and recreate the new frequency that we want to live in. And then we had the rebirth. So what sessions for you were memorable? And do you remember what was happening in the sessions for you in your body? What kind of experiences you were having? Because I remember vividly. I don't think I'll ever forget that September Womb Room. I'd love to hear it. Go ahead.
Yeah, the cosmic washing machine was quite something. I guess what I remember is, I mean, there are parts that I really don't remember because I let go so much. I just allowed. There were emotions that were coming up through me in waves, and I think, you know, we were talking earlier about surprises. I was surprised at how much I could trust and let go and just experience. It was just a state of experiencing, and that everything was okay, and that it was all about feeling. And I knew I was held. I knew I was safe, and I could just let it be. So just the ability to experience and have reveals was, and right through to the rebirthing. And again, I'll just speak to the power that it infused. I'm just so grateful for that freedom to just experience.
And I'm just curious about whether you've found it easy in the past to surrender to experiences, to the present moment, to other healing experiences.
Transparently, I've been a person who's lived a lot of my life up in my head. And for me to get into body and to allow myself to experience, allow myself to feel, has been a journey. And I'm only at the beginning part of it. I'll be back in Womb Room again as well. I have lots ahead of me. And when I spoke to safety and stillness and curiosity as being my guiding forces forward, they truly are. So yeah, just the journey was was a rock and roll ride for me. In the aftermath of each phase, I really wanted to journal everything that had been exposed and revealed, and to reread some of those things now. You know, again, it just kind of, it really happened. It makes me believe that all of that can happen if you just surrender and if you just experiment and feel and allow.
Wow. It sounds like you've been doing it for many lifetimes, surrendering. So I'm really intrigued that actually you're saying that you've, like many of us, you know, been on this journey of being very cerebral and in our heads and logically trying to figure everything out, and then having to gradually get more embodied and start to interpret our own body sensations as a form of intelligence and accept that, and then gradually learning how to open up to something greater and to our field and our quantum field, and then allow that to be absorbed back in by the body and to resonate accordingly. What other experiences did you go through during those 4 healing sessions? What kind of things were happening to you?
Talking to you.
Oh. Are you still talking to me?
I'm talking to anyone who wants to speak.
Yeah, I think for me, the release session, I was like, how does healing happen offline in another country, in another time zone? It just doesn't make sense. But I promise, the minute it turned like the right time, I could feel it in my body. And there was just this really raw, primal like feeling in my perineum. And like, I don't know, it was just really more raw and intense than anything else I've ever felt in my life. And I felt like I wasn't only releasing my things, I was releasing like generations of pain that I didn't even knew I held. And yeah, that's something I'm probably going to remember for the rest of my life. So yeah, that was a pretty big one.
The release session was huge, wasn't it? You went very, very deep. If this is a really hard question to ask and answer, but I'm going to try it anyway with you, Zian. What gives you the feeling internally that you were connecting to generations of content rather than just your personal biographical stuff? Was it a particular sensation in your body, or did you get any images? And I'm curious about all those of you who've talked about ancestral healing as well. What gave you the impression internally that you were working on something that was not just your immediate biographical life?
So, go ahead.
Go ahead, Zian, and then we'll move to Lindsay.
Okay, sure. I think it was that the night before I had a dream about like all my grand sisters, or I just had the feeling that I was being supported and just like this feeling of safety. Usually I spend my time like pretty anxious or in my head or disconnected from that feeling of safety. But the 2 days before the release session, I just felt like I was being loved and supported and celebrated by so many people. And that was like a really rare feeling. And then when the release happened, I just kind of knew that no one, like, because of like my socioeconomic context, no one has ever had the space to do something like this before, and I was probably the first one to do it. Yeah.
That's beautiful, Zian. I had a very similar experience. There were days before that I spoke earlier to being led a little bit, and that I was open to it, and so I kind of had almost a vision with mine, and it wasn't faces or anything, but it was the sensation that I'm just going to come out and say it. It was the sensation of hands on shoulders. Just that was the vision that I had, was just kind of a multiple of hands on shoulders from my maternal ancestors. And there were a lot of them in the space with me. And I had that common feeling of just feeling, it was in my heart. My heart was huge. And I just embraced it and stayed with it, and such love as I've never, and such support as I've never felt before.
Absolutely incredible, and no doubt about the internal sensation and what it meant to you and what it was symbolizing, whether it was a dream or a vision, and it was correspondingly coming through the body from what you guys are sharing. That's absolutely amazing. What else would you like to say about your experiences of the healing sessions in particular?
Such a strong experience of the heart, my heart field expanding and feeling just drawn into such a deep peace, even though I would be thinking, I can't do this, I'm too stressed, I'm too tired, and it would take over and just create a really strong field, like the whole room would just transform, like everything would just transform, and my relationships with the people in the house that I was staying in at the time shifted. I felt that everything was just uplifted and in a very tangible way. Yeah, that deep peace that I just couldn't ignore, that I couldn't affect as easily as I had thought. You know, it was something that held me.
That's really beautifully articulated. It's a deep peace that we can't affect. We can't disturb. It's the kind of peace that cannot be disturbed. And it's amazing that you let yourself have that, but you let yourself go there, and your mind just had to park itself on one side. Wow.
There was one.
Go ahead, Todd.
There was one part of the, I think it was the integration session. It may have been Seta shared a saying or mantra. It was a recording that she'd shared, and remember, it was just dead silent after that. It was very quiet, and it had a huge impact on everyone. It still does. I still think about it, but I don't know. It was in another language, and I don't know what it was about, but I just keep thinking about it. Do you know
Samantha shared it. It was a light language transmission. She will do you one if you connect with her. Okay, I'm sure she will.
Yeah, it's pretty powerful. Whatever it was, it's just little things like that. I have no idea what she was saying or anything, but it
just went completely quiet, didn't it? It just, like, we all just went completely, like, the mind was gone, and we just sat there looking at each other. It was beautiful. Bryony.
Hi, just thinking back to some of the healing sessions, and I think one of the things that sort of stays with me is, and I can't remember which one it was, I'm afraid, but just the movement from being in connection with moving into the pelvis and the womb and feeling that physicality, and then just the sense of the moving out into the different layer, the more emotional, the more spiritual, and then the moving out into the cosmic, and just being able to sense that different qualities of that, and one's relationship to that, and having the sense of the womb that's bigger than this physicality yet. So yeah, so it's like that sort of axis of down and across, sort of, and yeah, so just being in that spot where you're just feeling it at all levels.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Are you bringing that into your work now as well?
Oh, I really noticed an impact on work. Yeah, definitely. And my growing familiarity and confidence and feeling into my pelvic floor, how that impacts the session, and sharing stuff with people as well, from what I've learned. From you and all the amazing resources that you share, just sharing that with quite a few people actually. So and people having slightly different experiences in sessions. Yeah,
absolutely. And these resources that I've shared with you are really things that I've written from my heart, from my own experiences, my own healing journey, from working with you guys and in my one-to-one work as well, but from all of the experiences I've had. And I just want to let you know that putting resources together like that, of course, running through my head at all times was this: they are going to think I'm absolutely nuts. Like, they will think I'm mad. And then the second Sheila came in and was like, they're not going to understand this. They won't get it. They will just be like, what? It doesn't make sense to us. And then when you guys came in the room and were like, yeah, this is great. Like, we love it. It was like, oh, okay, you do get it actually. And again, it just shows that when we step into the fear and do it anyway, you have no idea what can happen, but it could surprise you, right? And we never really know. We never get to that point of being surprised by ourselves and elated by ourselves if we don't take some risks, if we don't step into the fear and put ourselves out there to get some feedback, whether it's for singing, performing, playing the drums like you guys did, whether it's poetry, whether it's speaking. Just being here and having this opportunity to speak is, you're putting something out there, even in the subtle realms, about what you're willing to do to show up for yourselves, and to show up for Womb. And I think it's absolutely incredible. So yeah, we've got 10 minutes left of this podcast, and I really want to ask some juicy questions. I want to ask some really, really juicy questions. Okay. Before I start asking juicy questions, does anyone else here want to say something about their healing experience, about what you've healed in Womb Room, what Womb Room has helped you to journey through, and what rebirth has felt like to you?
I feel like the biggest takeaway that I've got from Womb Room is to really just trust myself. And I feel like that's been my journey. And I'm only 21 years old, and I felt a little bit like, oh, everyone's older than me going into it. But really, yeah, I feel in a place that I know that I can help myself, and I know that I can tend to what is happening. And yes, it takes time to build deeper and deeper trust, but that's been a beautiful unraveling for me in Womb Room, to just really trust myself deeper and trust what's happening and really hone in on my power and truth, for sure.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Self-trust. Self-trust has got to be the deepest journey inwards. Everything that we do requires that, doesn't it? Self-trust. Whatever medicine we're working with, because that's what takes us deeper into our own sensations. And stillness is the trust. You guys have talked about stillness and the power of stillness to transform. Is that helping you to cultivate the seeds that you said that you would plant?
Definitely. Yeah, it's taking time. I feel like there has been part of me that has just resisted doing things I've loved and just have put it on the sidelines. But now it's like I have a list. I know what I want to put my energy into, and it's happening. Yeah. And it's like, I feel like deep roots are being created so that these things can come into fruition, which feels really good.
Wow. I love it. I love it. So we've journeyed through shedding. We've journeyed through so much in this Womb Room. We went on a journey really from inception. So I want to ask a little bit about that, because that was my little surprise for you. Surprise, you've actually been journeying through your inception. And that was before you actually got into Womb Room, when you got dumped with a whole load of information on all these resources and giving you everything you needed to know about womb, and then leaving you with a whole load of questions. And then the journey towards entering Womb. What was that like? Because I could obviously feel what you guys were doing and what you were not doing. So it was a really interesting experiment. But I'm really interested now to hear about whether you put the two and two together. That your journey from receiving all of that information and being pure awareness and information to coming into form, into Womb, was your journey of inception. And how have you related that back to your own journey of inception, and how much you show up? You've chosen to show up for yourself in this incarnation.
Well, just the fact that you had 3 weeks of preparation and I somehow was not, part of me was not aware of that 3-week induction, and then catching up in the last minute and just feeling like, I've already messed it up. I'm already 3 weeks behind. And then realizing I was 2 weeks late, as they said, being born. And your response to me, don't worry, you're not late, you're just going to catch up. That in itself was a powerful moment. I cried so much that day. I was like, I'm wrong, and I've messed it up. So what do I want to say about that? Yeah, I mean, I had that moment before we even started. So yeah, it made me aware of the very fact of exactly. Yeah,
I got shivers down my body listening to that, because I remember it so vividly, and how for you that process of being late and what you may have messed up. Sometimes these themes and our birth experiences they imprint on us, on our nervous system, and the way our nervous system actually creates itself. Like this, it's like the root. When we go to plant a seed, we take care about the conditions, especially in the early weeks and the early days, especially in transplantation. If you're going to transplant a tiny little root, you take a lot of care, because it impacts the growth, and it impacts our growth, what we hold about ourselves, what we hold ourselves to. So for you to go and move through that and realize that actually you didn't mess anything up, you don't have to feel like you're at a different place from everyone else. I'm glad that Womb Room was able to show you that in such a visceral way, because there's no accidents. Like there really isn't any accidents. People dropping in. I've had people who they forget to come to Womb Room, even though they've paid and signed up and they've done all the prep, and then the journey starts and they're not in yet. They don't come into Womb Room, and it's part of their process, because so often those people have had a very difficult birth experience and they haven't been able to come into the world very easily. They need to be induced. So I've had to go and find people and bring them and call them into womb and process with them slightly outside of the womb, but process with them why they can't come into the womb, because it's so relevant. That's why I give you guys 3 weeks preparation for a 10-day journey, because it's deep stuff. Yeah,
I knew there was a part of me which was testing how well I'd be received, and just having that communication of like, is this still okay for me to come in? Like, I've just got the umbilical cord around my neck, and can you hear me? Like, is it okay? So yeah.
Wow, we can hear you. It's perfect. You're speaking loud and clear. You guys are so you're very, especially this session, I'm really hearing your voice anchored in your body so much. You've all spoken with so much clarity and confidence and vulnerability.
Sorry.
Is this what you're worried about, Natalie?
I'm just realizing that my voice has definitely changed. It's like in these weeks, it has felt much more resonant from within a deeper place in my being.
I wonder what you would sound like if you spoke from your belly. Try that this week. From your womb as well, like just down here. Big smile when I said that. What does it, let womb echo through your body.
Mm-hmm.
So would you come again to womb? Would you rebirth again in womb? You can take yourself off mute.
Yes.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, definitely, yes.
So I can expect you all in the next womb.
Yeah.
For sure.
Absolutely.
When will
Thanks
it
so
be?
much.
I'm gonna take some time and process this one.
Todd, you're going to take a break, yeah?
Be back someday.
We'll be there waiting for you and waiting for the drums. The 10th womb room is going to have a lot more performances, I'm hoping, and a lot more interactivity, because it's going to be the 10th womb room, so we're going to make it really special. And what makes womb special is the womb warriors, the wombies, you guys. And that's because without you, there is no womb. Without you. And the same goes for the world. Without us, there is no world. Every single individual is really important in playing their part. When we start to feel like we belong and we can be here, some of you said that, be here with my body in this moment, we start to accept the world and accept ourselves deeper and deeper and deeper. And then we can show up and be who we want to be every day, rather than only experiencing who we don't want to be every day. We can experience both, maybe a little mix. Great. Well, I'm looking forward to having you all back in the womb. And would you recommend the womb for other people who've heard about womb rooms?
Yes, very much.
Yes, for
Absolutely.
sure.
Absolutely.
100%.
What would you tell someone who said, I don't believe that any of that stuff can happen in 10 days in a group journey from when everyone's in a different country?
Try it.
Believe.
Fasten your seatbelt.
They'll come back anyways. Even if you tell them and they don't believe, they'll come back.
Yeah, you'll never know until you experience it.
Yeah, it's so true, isn't it? You never know until you take a plunge, you fasten your seatbelt, and you experience it. And that's wonderful. Do you feel like womb has in some way helped you to be in the world at a time where it's quite challenging to be authentically yourself, embodied and still and grounded, spiritually connected in the world today? Do you feel like
more grounded?
More grounded? And do you feel like you've got the tools, more tools at your disposal to experiment with?
Definitely.
Yeah, there's a wealth of information, especially in the podcast. It's just so good. So much stuff to listen to educate yourself. There's endless stuff.
Mhm.
There's
Yes,
more coming.
yeah. Before I came here, I had to do the child meditation, inner child meditation, to calm my nerves, so I can be in front of everyone.
Wow. And I wonder whether that was also your inner child excitement.
Yeah. As they say, anxiety and excitement is on the same spectrum, isn't it?
And I've had moments this week where I've felt very anxious and like, oh, my inner child is kicking off right now about XYZ. And really, okay, what do I do? Well, what would I tell the wombies to do? Oh, go sit with yourself, find that little girl, find that child, and really figure out what is it that's being unraveled and shown to you here. And I'll talk more about that in another video about how to go deeper into the gift that's waiting for you, that's yet to be revealed through discomfort and uncomfortable sensations that arise. I feel like the time that we're living in right now is really inviting us to do that, because we cannot now move away so easily from the discomfort, from the uncomfortable sensations. And it's becoming difficult when you have the awareness and you've been on journeys like this. It becomes very difficult to numb yourself or to tune out your inner self. And, you know, Todd, like you were saying, I'm aware of my Sheilas now. I see them. You can't become unaware. It takes a lot more, right? So we don't really roll back. With this deeper embodiment and this deeper awareness, we become more sensitive. We feel more. And we feel more of everything. So we have to develop deeper compassion, self-compassion, clearer boundaries, and deeper embodiment practices, really, to stay present. And I hope that womb room has given you the tools and the inspiration to experiment and keep going, and to let yourselves be open about your process and vulnerable with yourselves and with each other. It's probably the hardest thing to do in the world, isn't it? Being open-hearted with each other and trusting that something is going to hold you, someone is going to reflect back just what you need to hear, someone's going to show you something about yourself that you'd forgotten to congratulate yourself about, you know, or you'd seen it the wrong way, like you'd seen it as a fault, or you'd seen it as something, but actually you forgot to see the other side of it, right? So we're here to remind each other, we're here to play the roles. Is there anything else that you guys would like to say before we wrap up Words from the Womb, which I've really, really enjoyed?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a huge thank you, Sapa, for holding such a wonderful space for all of us. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you. I try to receive that as deeply into my heart as I can. And I really want to say thank you to you all for just being warriors, for being womb warriors and being willing to go so deep into the unknown and deep into the unknowable mystery in order to experience something new and yet ancient, which is womb wisdom. And to find those corners and those edges where we discover how powerful we really are, and to walk there together and to remind each other and to take other people by the hand, as many of you did, and to just say, hey, come this way. What you've been looking for is over here. We can sit here together. So I love how we dance and move in womb, and there's been so many tears of joy and grief and connection and everything. It's been a melting pot. So absolutely, I can't wait to have you all in the next one. And yeah, I just want to say thank you all so much for being on this podcast, Words from the Womb, and on this YouTube channel. And I can't wait to see you in the next one. So stay on the line. Stay on the line. Let me just stop recording.